And if you do take the time to look at the Kickstarter campaign, there are certain levels of donations. There's a tape being offered, there's signed books being offered, there's shouts out in the book offered. So thank you to all the donors of this campaign. We appreciate you. We couldn't do it without you. And Tommy's book, there's a lot of books being put out right now, or in the recent past, and I tell you what, they don't hold a candle to this book. If you want to know the inside stories of death row by someone who was there from early onset until the very end, Tommy's book is what you want to read. And with us right now is Tommy D. How you doing, Tommy?
I'm doing fine. How about yourself?
Doing fantastic. Looks like we got some people on here, and after a quick little Q&A between me and you, if you would, we're going to take some questions from the audience.
Looking forward to it.
All right. We're going to go ahead and start it out. The book, Stranded on Death Row with Dr. Dre. I'm sorry, the book, Stranded on Death Row with Tupac, Snoop, and Dr. Dre. That's what we're crowdfunding here right now. Tommy, what prompted you to write this book, and why now?
Actually, started writing it about 5 years ago. I found myself I'd be at a party or in the studio, and I'd be telling death row stories, and I kept hearing over and over, "You should write a book. You should write a book." And then I thought one day, what the heck, I should write a book. So I started it with Ben about 4 or 5 years ago. We got it halfway done, and my father passed away. So I decided to split Iowa because I retired, moved back, and I came back to LA to get back in the music business. And so we wanted to have it out by the time of the movie, but we didn't have it completely the way we wanted to, but it's almost there.
This is a Jmix exclusive.
Was death row a violent place to work? There's been a lot of stories that have come out in the last 20 years, and you were there for longer than almost anybody else. In your opinion, was it a violent place to work?
Not a violent place to work if you violated the rules, as you kind of mentioned earlier. Violence could happen, but there was so much security that we were safe. The only people that could bring guns in the studio were the artists themselves. And the chances of the artists using the gun was pretty low. And the security had their eyes on everything. But one thing, well, I should wait, this isn't the book. The Outlaws used to come in, and for the tape machine, they used to have big razor blades to cut the tape, because you have tape slice. They would take the razor blades and put them in their mouth, like box cutters, I guess you call that. So some shit went down. The Outlaws all had their razors ready to go. But I never had to see them use it, and I never heard them having to use it. But we were safe at the studio pretty much.
Tommy, we got a question from Ben in the chat. What is your favorite Tupac song?
It's a good question. Probably Hail Mary and Blasphemy, the two. They're tied.
All right. How did you first meet
Suge
Knight?
I like Big Sykes' verse on Checkout Time. And I was with Corrupt about 6 months ago. We ran into Big Syke, which I think he passed away just recently.
Yes, he did.
Correct, yeah. We saw him at the Saddleback Bar, right down from my studio. And you talk about Suge saying, no Starfuckers. I said to Syke, can you do me a favor? Can you bust that verse for me of Checkout Time? And he did it, and I couldn't believe it. And it was pretty cool to see him.
Yeah, definitely rest in peace, Big Syke. One of my favorite member of the Outlaws. One of the biggest impact that he had on West Coast music was huge. My son, who's a teenager, listens to All Eyes on Me, and every time Big Syke comes on, that's his favorite verse, especially on the title song, All Eyes on Me.
Yeah, it was just unfortunate that him and Tupac had a falling out, and he just disappeared after that All Eyes on Me record.
Do you know what the fallout was?
It was personal, so I'd rather not say what it was.
Fair enough. What was it? How did you first meet Suge Knight?
The very first session when he came in with Heron and a couple other security guards, I didn't actually shake his hand or anything. I just saw him. I don't think I ever did say hi to Suge or anything. The first time I ever did make recognition between each other was I was with CPO at the El Rey Theater after the award show, and we're in the bathroom smoking a joint, and it walks Suge, and I'm thinking, oh shit, we're busted, and I'm realizing, come on, this is death row, what the fuck am I thinking, you know? And Suge said hi to us, and we said, what's up, and we got out of there, you know.
So Suge wasn't hands-on in the production side of Death Row Records.
He was, after he did his 5-year stint and came out, and we had the artists like Crooked Eye and Eastwood and Spider and Vegas, and we had was a room with the Booyah Tribe a lot. The most of all that time period, though, all we put out was the Dysfunctional Family soundtrack, and we also worked on the Left Eyes album, which unfortunately she passed away, and that wasn't really released like I thought it was going to be, but the Death Row producers took that thing to a whole nother level, and it was pretty cool.
Is Suge Knight the big bad wolf that people make him out to be?
No, he was very mellow, doesn't speak loud. If there's a problem, he would have his security guards take care of it.
Can you tell us a little bit about the Red Room, and is it true that you couldn't step on the Death Row emblem in the middle of the floor?
Yes, yeah, it was true. If you stepped on the emblem, which was white, or if you spilled any of your blood on it, that was a big no-no, and that would create a huge problem. One time, one of the assistant engineers real early in the morning said, hey, you got to come into Suge's room, which is where the Red Room was. And I was like, man, I'm not going to go in there, because if anybody asked me if I was in there, I can't lie, I'd have to say yes. But he goes, no, let me show you something. And he turned on the lights because he had a fish tank full of piranhas, and they all just like went underneath the rocks or something. And I was like, I'm out of here. That's it. I've seen enough. I got to go. And so the Red Room, yeah, that's true. Do not step on the white emblem.
So the Red Room was where the notorious artist punishments would take place?
Yeah, that's where the meetings that you wouldn't want to be invited to took place. And I never got invited to the Red Room, so.
Shout out to Benjamin Lee. He just became our 21st backer on the book. We do appreciate you. Thank you very much. Now, because we were talking about the biopic a little bit earlier, there's a scene in the movie where Suge Knight kind of checks Tupac. Did you ever see anything like that happen while you were there? Suge Knight checking Tupac?
Are you talking about kind of when he heard that Snoop said something on the radio?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I don't know what conversation took place between those two, but I do know that Tupac was very upset about Snoop, what he had said. But at the same time, Snoop wasn't really trying to go in that direction and didn't understand why Death Row was going in that direction. And I remember once he said, I think it was like about Gangster Party, he said, man, it just happened so fast, I didn't really realize what we were doing. So I think it was Gangster Party he was talking about. What they were doing was, dissing out in New York. And I can see where Snoop said it just happened so fast, because with Tupac, everything happened fast.
Is there there's been a lot of speculation and rumor. Was there a real beef between Pac and Snoop? Was there a tension there?
No, there was. When people talk about tension with the artists at Death Row and Tupac, the only tension was sort of that here along came, Tupac gets out of prison, he does a double album in 30 days, and it releases, and bam. So Tupac was questioning, am I carrying Death Row or what? How come all these other people haven't put out records? I thought it was the artist's fault, because Dre really wasn't there to help them, because he was still figuring out his position with Death Row financially and trying to decide his aftermath position. But then what I just found out about 6 months ago from Trey Lane, who was one of the security guards at Death Row, Suge was stockpiling all these recordings because he was going to move over to Sony with Death Row and have all these albums ready to go. So that was something I just learned about 6 months ago, which we have to put in the book as well. Because a lot of people say, oh, the artists were jealous about Tupac. But I'd be jealous about Tupac if I was an artist, because the guy was just like blew everybody away. But no, there wasn't a problem with Snoop and Tupac.